souls, and welcome back to the Cosmic Confluence podcast, the space where we unravel the magic between soul wisdom and conscious living. I'm your host, Sana, and today we are exploring something very powerful, something deeply human, what it takes to truly create the life you want. And now, most of us are taught that transformation requires external permission or ideal, favorable conditions. But what if the power to shift your entire reality was within you all along, even if your outer world looked completely hopeless? Well, today's guest, Larry Bilotta, is a living proof of that. After 27 years of loveless marriage, Larry didn't give up. Instead, he discovered a breakthrough that changed not just his relationship, but his entire life. And now, for over 20 years, he has been guiding thousands to do the same, reclaim their sanity, transform their relationships, and overall own their inner power. So, with that, Larry, welcome to the show. And as always, it is such an honor to have you with us.
Man, I love it. Thank you for being here. It's really great, and I appreciate that I can be here.
Beautiful, beautiful, Larry. It's always a pleasure. It's such an enriching conversation every time I have you on all of our shows. So let's start at the beginning. I mean, many times I have lived your story, and it is such it's kind of an outlier, especially in today's conditions when we talk about social relationships or the um, context of marriage. You have lived through what many would consider unbearable. I mean, I'll be very honest. If I were in that situation, I would have given up straight away. That was the easiest solution. So I would love to know, Larry, what was that exact moment like for you spiritually or inside you? What was going through your mind that the change didn't have to come from your partner or your marriage or anyone else, but from you? I mean, what kind of circumstances motivated you to think like that?
So the thinking that we're talking about is the thinking that you do when you're in trouble. And the thinking you do when you're in trouble is very different than the thinking you do when you're happy or content. The thinking you do in trouble is a very different kind of thought. Because it's a thought that contains urgency. It contains innovation. It contains breaking through walls that you used to believe you couldn't get through. And so, what are these walls? These walls are ideas. That's really what this is. This isn't a world of things. We keep on telling ourselves that this is a world of things, of cars, of buildings, of matter, but it's not a world of matter. It's a world of ideas. And so when people are stuck, they're stuck in a wall behind an idea. And when an idea holds you, it's like you can't get through it. Like so when I was in this situation with Marcia, so remember I married her in the 1970s, specifically 1974, the year they impeached Richard Nixon. And so when they impeached Richard Nixon, that's the year I marry Marcia. And when I marry Marcia, I'm just giving you some historical perspective there.
Yeah.
Uh, I find out that she has a belief system completely different than mine because we never talked about it because we were not a talkative couple. We were like less words were always the order of how we operated. Speak less and feel more. And so in that environment, we're not really speaking, we're not really communicating. Uh, it starts to become really apparent to me that she's raised in a very different home than I'm raised in. She's raised in a home where there's anger and anger is a thing that was shown. It was shown to be angry, angry father, angry mother. So what happened in my home? Well, my home was a very peaceful couple, and they really didn't talk about things to fight about things. They just shut down. So they have a format of shutting down, while her home is a job of fighting. And so If she's raised to fight and I'm raised to shut down, we now have two completely different value systems, don't we? And because we're living in that place, I don't I don't see things as clearly as I see them now. I see things not so clearly. I see things as she's dangerous, she's scary, she's risky, she's hostile. I'm scared of her. That's the way I saw the world at that time. And because I saw the world that way, I was always trying to think of ways I can get away from her. And so I physically need to leave this place to be safe. And so there are people who are in relationships that literally get into that once they find out about what condition they're both in. I use this thing called the chaos to purpose scale. And the reason I've been using it for 15 years is because I need to know who I'm talking to, who is raised at the high place on the scale and who's raised at the low place on the scale. So when we're talking about uh, the scale specifically, we're talking about because you're asking me at what point did I know something that really mattered. There was really no point where I go, Eureka, I've got it. It wasn't like that, not ever. It was always little teeny discoveries, little teeny insights of like, oh, think this is the way. I think that's the way. The little things like that. And so as I started to realize little things, I kept moving closer and closer to being the person who's the learner. And I want to learn. And why do I want to learn? Well, because I knew that when I was in pain, I was alert. I was awake. I was becoming more connected to the ideas that I'm trying to get through, because I have to get through these walls, and these walls are ideas. And so what happens to us in our childhood is we have 55,000 hours of waking time in our first 10 years. And during that time, we're letting everything come in. Everything comes in. And where does it go? It goes in our subconscious minds. And so when it goes in our subconscious minds, that's where it's stuck. That's where it stays. And so ideas stay there. And once they stay there, we have to get through them, but we really can't get through them. Why? Because that's where they got in the beginning. They literally got lodged there in the beginning. So now how am I going to break through an idea? So if we take through an idea, um, let's take an idea called um, I think marriage is a commitment between two people, and I will fight for it. I will fight for it. Fight. So that's an idea. I have to fight for my marriage. Now, when you believe you have to fight for your marriage, what what does that give you license to do? Well, it gives me license to literally fight. I can yell, I can argue, I can blame, I can criticize, I can do everything. Why? Because I'm fighting for my marriage. So once you're really deeply involved in fighting for your marriage, because that's what you got as a child, then all these things you're doing to fight for your marriage aren't helping you, but you don't know that. Why don't you know that? Because the idea, fight for your marriage, is the idea that's occupying your subconscious mind. It owns you. And so, how do you get through the idea that you don't need to fight for your marriage? You need to transform yourself for your marriage. You change yourself. And as you change yourself, you change your energy. You give off a new energy. You give off a new set of calm and secure and safe and important and valuable and likable and upbeat. When you start giving off that new energy, your energy starts to change the marriage. Why? Because the person you're married to probably doesn't have a set of values like you do. And so when I'm talking about values now, and now we're talking about another idea, which is values. When you have values, when you're raised at the top of the high point on the scale, which is 10, 9, and 8, when you're raised up there, your parents are giving you values like commitment, loyalty, confidence, service to others, kindness, humility, um, respect, acceptance. These are the ideas that you're getting in the high place on the scale. When you're raised at the bottom of the scale, you've got a completely different set of values. Your values are things like you're learning selfishness. You're learning what lying is. You're learning what survival and gossip is. You're learning about stealing. You're learning about being defensive. You're learning about worry and doubt. Why? Because that's what you see. And whatever you see, that's what goes into the subconscious. So that's what's there. So now we've got somebody who's raised at the top of the scale, commitment and loyalty. I fight for my marriage. That's the person at the top, married to a person at the bottom. I steal, I I destroy, I worry, I doubt, uh, I have meanness, right? I have all these values that I believe in, right? And they don't even know how to defend them. They just have them, and now that's how they have to live. So I'm saying all this because I'm talking about being raised at the top of the scale and raised at the bottom of the scale. And when we think about marriages that are really difficult, what are we really talking about? We're talking about the people that are raised at the top and the bottom. People who are raised at the top and the bottom are really uh, they're in a bad place in terms of what's the word here, confluence that you use in your title, a confluence, a bringing together, right? Uh, so they can't bring together because they have to bring together ideas. Well, how do you bring together commitment with selfishness? How do you bring together lying with loyalty? How can you bring together survival with service? Well, you can't. You can't bring them together. They're two opposite worlds, aren't they? And so, what we're talking about is we're talking about a person who changes their own energy. And as they change their own energy, they start to feel differently. They start to feel better. They start to feel happier. And so that's now the idea of, and now transforming into a different idea of the split of those two worlds. Um, so I'm now gonna make a different illustration. I'm gonna make a different illustration. And so the on the left side, we have what's called the real world. On the right side, we have the simulation. And so what is the real world? The real world is the place where we have all the things that we have in the world. We have mosquitoes and ticks, we have rain and we have storms and we have noise and we have people, right? All the things in the real world that we have, right? But what we have in the real world is a thing called emotional attachment. Emotional attachment is the thing that really hurts people a lot. And oddly, the real world they teach at schools, they teach in colleges, they teach in the media. They teach if you care about something, you will be uh, emotionally attached to it. You will attach to what you care about. That's what they teach. And so if people are not emotionally attached, then they say, well, you really don't care. You care because you're emotionally attached. Emotional attachment and caring are together. That's what they say. And so what happens when people are emotionally attached to something? If you're emotionally attached to a dog, when something bad happens to the dog, you get destroyed. You fall apart. If you're emotionally attached to a wife or to a husband, you're destroyed when something bad happens to them. So falling apart in the world, getting emotionally wrecked is the result of being emotionally attached. So that's really my description of the real world. In the real world, emotional attachment is what makes the real world real. So now on that side, I'm going to go draw a big black line down the middle. And on the other side, I'm going to draw a picture of what I call the simulation. So the simulation is a copy of the real world. The whole world is picked up and dropped on the other side with one big difference. It's like all the things are here: height, width, depth, science, teaching, and all the mosquitoes and everything. Everything's here that's in the real world, except one big difference. In the real world, we are emotionally attached, but in the simulation, we care. And what does that mean? Caring has a very definite definition. I do what helps myself and others. I do what helps myself and others. Now, when that's the definition of caring, you realize that if I'm to live here in the simulated world, I'm going to feel a whole lot better because I'm not going to be emotionally attached to anything. Now, bear in mind, emotional attachment really makes people crazy. Emotional attachment makes them needy and urgent and desperate and just frustrated and blaming and attacking, right? Emotional attachment does terrible things to people, right? So I'm suggesting that in the simulation, what the big difference in the simulation is that you're not emotionally attached to anything. You simply care about what you love to care about. And what you care about is who you love and what you care about in the world. And so your caring is defined by I do what helps myself and others. I do what helps myself and others. That's the difference. And so on the left side of the picture, we've got the real world and emotional attachment where I'm all wrecked when things go wrong. And when on the other side with the simulation, I'm literally feeling caring and I'm simply caring. So I had somebody criticize me the other day. That's a friend of mine. And she said, "How come you didn't do this thing I wanted you to do?" And I said, "Oh, well, I do want to do the thing I said I wanted to do. And I didn't do it. And I didn't do it because something from my subconscious came up and made me not do it." Right. So I apologized right away. I apologized. And I said, "We're going to do the thing you want to do." And I just care. I care about who I care about, and that's how I'm living. I live in the simulation because in the simulation, I'm not emotionally attached to anything. So I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to attack people. I don't have to criticize people. I don't have to blame anybody. I don't have to be a victim. I don't have to do all the things that are in the real world because in the simulation, I'm living and caring. And so now I need to go through the world as caring. And so what can I do? Well, things happen in the real world, but in the simulation, less happens. Why does less troubling things happen in the simulation? Because you're not giving off an energy of emotional attachment. Because when you emotionally attach to anything, you literally create a tension. There's a tension, there's an against energy that forms around you and in you, and everybody can feel it, and they're kind of uncomfortable with it, like kind of like challenged and difficult. But when you live in the simulation, you don't carry that energy. You carry the energy of caring. And when I care, I can fix anything. I can solve anything. I can apologize. I can do those things, even though I may not have the value system to do them from my childhood. I don't have that value from my parents, but I can live that way. And so I like to challenge people. As now that we've got the real world on the left and we've got the simulation on the right, the task that you have is to leave the real world and to move to the simulation for 1 hour and see if you can live there 1 hour. Can I live in the simulated world 1 hour and just care? Not be emotionally attached to anything. I just care. Can I do it? And so when people first bring up the question, can they do it? They're kind of like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. That's how deeply involved emotional attachment is in our lives. It's deeply involved in our attachment to our families and money and relationships and health and I just and I start to dig into the emotional attachment of the real world. It's just it's mind-boggling.
True, that's true. Uh, I mean,
But
like,
but but Sarah, I'm possessing the conversation, so I don't mean to do that.
no, not at all. I mean, yeah, because this is something a bit unconventional, different from
Yes.
usual approach. So yeah, I mean, there are so many layers here, so much of nuance here that I guess 30 minutes is not enough for explanation. Uh, I mean, don't you think this simulation, I mean, people would assume, oh, you are just asking me to create my own world or kind of being delusion where I'm not attached to the emotionally attached to something or someone. I mean, if
That's it. That's the question, right? The people in the real world who defend emotional attachment would say, you're not here in the real world. If you're living in an illusion, you're not really here. Because in here, in this place here in the real world, we are attached to things emotionally. We care so much that we attach to everything emotionally. And we're going to defend that premise. We're going to defend that life. And so when you bring up the idea that, I kind of like to live in the simulation because it feels safer, it feels calmer, it feels nicer, it feels friendlier. I like that. And so actually, where is this world lived in, and where are you going for the illusion of this simulation of yours? And so the answer is, I'm going in my mind. I'm going in my mind to this place called the simulation. So nobody knows I'm in the simulation unless I tell somebody. But if I don't tell anybody, nobody knows where I'm living. I'm living there in my mind. Well, nobody knows what's in a mind. You don't know, right? There's no way to know it, right? They like to know. I want to read your mind, right? But there's no way to really know. And once you don't know, because you're not going to publish what you're doing is you're just becoming calmer and you're becoming happier because living in the simulation is a place where you can actually keep your thoughts private.
Yeah.
And what are you giving out? You're giving out your seven energies. Your seven energies are my mood, my attitude, my feelings.
Mhm.
There's my sensitivity, my energy, my frequencies, and my vibrations. All those are going out. And what happens is things attach to those energies as they travel out. And what attaches to them? Anxiety, worry, doubt, tension, criticism, blame, frustration. Those are the feelings that attach to the energies. And once the energies carry these things, they carry them out to other people, and now other people can feel them. And I like to say that they pick up those energies and feel them, and they know. They just know. They don't say what they know, but they just know. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're thinking. Some people say that, right?
Yeah.
But generally, people do know what you're thinking, and they don't actually say what you're thinking, but they just kind of know. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because you're feeling something ugly, and I don't like it. You're feeling tense. I don't like it, right? So people feel you. They literally can feel the energies you're giving off.
Yes, yes, that is true.
And so when I'm talking about living in the simulation, I'm actually talking about a place where you can go in your mind where you live in a safer environment because you're not emotionally attached to anything. And actually you can live not emotionally attached to anything. You can literally live in a place where you feel comfortable. And so that's why I say, just try an hour. Live in the simulation for an hour. And what is it like to live in the simulation for an hour? Well, it feels kind of good. Feels kind of nice.
So how to practice that, Larry? If someone, let's say, I personally, because now I'm gradually, very slowly starting to understand this. If I want to start, what's the first step? How can I start?
The first step is to so I drew a picture. This is my picture.
Oh.
All right. So that happens to be backwards. Right. But what we have on one side is we have the real world. And
Mhm.
under the real world, it says emotional attachment. So I need to get that idea clear in my mind. So before I draw that big black line in the middle, I'm going to go to the other side of the picture and I'm going to go to the simulation. And the simulation says Karen. And what is the definition? The definition is I do what helps myself and others.
Yeah.
That's my definition. And it's a real simple definition. I do what helps myself and others. So I take care of a dog. I take care of a child. I take care of my tasks. I
Mhm.
take care of my organization. I take care of the messes that happen. I do that. Why? Because I'm caring. And it's a nicer place to live because I'm not attached to anything. And when you start to realize I cannot be attached for an hour,
Mhm.
I think I'm going to try that. I think I'm going to live an hour in the world of the simulation. I'm
Oh.
going to do that.
Mm.
And I'm going to do that and I'm going to see what it's like. And then if I like it, I'm going to try and see if I can go a second hour. Can I live in the simulation a second hour? Because what you're going to find is there's a force inside you that's going to try and push you into the world of the real world.
Yes. Yes.
And in the real world is fear. The world of fear is in the real world. And what is fear? Fear is 1,000 words in the English language that are terrible. All the terrible words we know: anxiety, hate, frustration, uh, bigotry,
Repetition.
misogynist, right? All the words we know. They're
Yeah.
all there, and they're all terrible. And when you step into the world of fear, it's a terribly complex, deep world of complexity, and you can't figure it out. You can't sort yourself out, and you can't find your way out. You can't find your way out of the world of fear. And so to be in the simulation is to be in an easier world, a softer world, a kinder world. It's just a better place to live. And you live it in your mind. You don't live it in the body. Body has nothing to do with the simulation. It's just the body is living in the simulation, and it's a copy of the real world in every way. So you're living in a physical world, but your mind is living in the simulation. And that's really the difference. So when you ask, how do you do it?
Mhm.
Can you go an hour? Can you go an hour in the simulation without being emotionally attached to anything? Can you do it? And so, you don't know. You don't know.
Exactly. Until and unless I try it, I may not be able to give the right answer.
Well, there's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
There's an answer that makes you feel good and makes you feel like you want to be here. And that's
Mhm.
really what the simulation is. It's a place you want to be, a place you enjoy, a place that feels good to you, a place where happiness is possible. Because with all the emotional attachment happening in the real world, there's not a lot of place for happiness there, and the happiness there is short lived and it's shallow.
Exactly. Exactly. And that kind of makes us get into that rabbit hole of judging ourselves, others. Um,
That's right. All that's there.
yeah.
So all that's there. It's all the stuff we don't like because that's all the world of fear. A very very complicated place, and the simulation is an easier place to be. But you don't know that. Why? Because the idea of emotional attachment is so deep in a part of you that you just can't even see it.
Yeah.
You can't even comprehend it. Emotional attachment? What is that? I never even thought about that. I never even knew there was an idea called emotional attachment. I didn't know what it was. Like I know I get upset, I know I get mad, but I didn't know it was because of emotional attachment.
Right.
So that's becomes the education part of this, where I have to learn about the real world. What is it really made of? It's made of emotional attachment, which makes all the world of fear possible. And so that's really why it's hard to be happy there. Happiness is short lived. You even see this in movies.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
people get people get happy and then they're not happy anymore.
Well, they're not happy anymore. We are seeing practically, I mean, uh, the most lucrative, businesses are built on fear.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that is so interesting, Larry. That is so interesting.
So I do a survey of people that are going to talk to me about my course, and one of the most frequently chosen ideas is I'm on a roller coaster ride of emotions, and that's because they're in an upsetting, painful situation, and they're living clearly in the real world, but they're on a roller coaster ride of emotions. That's what they always choose. I'm on a roller coaster ride of emotions. Now, why would they say that over and over and over again, person after person? Why? Because they feel the emotional attachment to trouble. They feel the emotional attachment to a roller coaster ride of emotions. That's why they pick it all the time because they can't control their emotions.
Yeah.
And they don't even know how or where would they go to do that. So I'm on a roller coaster ride of emotions. So what I'm teaching is I'm teaching how do you get off the roller coaster? How do you get off to this highs and lows of this real world? How do you keep, find to let go of that? And where are you going to go instead? Where are you going to go instead? That's why my course, The Environment Changer, is a course on the mind. It's not a course on behavior. It's a course on the mind.
Mm. Great, great, Larry. So, if our listeners would like to get a hold of your course and would also like to connect with you to share their thoughts about this, what's the best way to do that?
So the site where my programs are mentioned is youcansavethis marriage.com. And You Can Save This Marriage is really an overview of what I'm teaching. And
Mhm.
then you can go on to larrybilotta.com and you can learn more about the stuff I'm talking about and the teaching. If you go down to YouTube, you can go on the Larry Bilotta channel there, and you'll see a lot of videos of ideas that I teach.
That is really great, Larry. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes. And Larry, thank you so much for
Okay.
giving a glimpse of this because I think it's definitely such a different perspective through which a whole new lens through which we see or analyze or judge the things happening around us or ourselves or the people who are around us. Thank you so much. It's really, really kind of self liberating. It's liberating in its. Thank you. Thank you so.
Okay, so thanks a lot. All right, bye-bye.
And to everyone tuning in, remember that you are not stuck, even if it feels that way. The life you desire is already calling to you. So sometimes all it takes is a shift in perspective, like I kind of experienced today in this conversation to begin answering that call. So if today's conversation spoke to you, share it with someone who needs hope. And as always, do check out Larry's YouTube channel, his website, his course. I'll have all the links mentioned in the show notes. And until next time, stay awake, stay aligned, and stay connected to the cosmic flow of your own becoming. Thank you.